It was 2 a.m. when the hospital corridor echoed with hurried footsteps. A man in his 50s, Mr. Thompson, sat slumped on a metal bench, his face buried in his palms. His only son was in surgery after a terrible accident. Minutes felt like hours. Every second ticked like a hammer on his chest. Earlier that evening, Thompson had stormed out of the house after a heated argument with his son. "You never listen. You're irresponsible." Those had been his last words before the boy had slammed the door and left on his motorbike. Now, he prayed for just one more chance to take those words back. Before I take you further into the story, pause for a moment. Think about it. If tonight was the last time you spoke to someone you loved, what would those words be? Tell me where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that might just change the way you see life. Now, back to the story. Down the corridor, a cleaner mopped the floor quietly. Most people barely noticed her, but she noticed everything. She saw the man's trembling hands, the way his shoulders shook, the brokenness in his silence. Without a word, she wheeled her bucket aside, sat gently across from him, and whispered, "Breathe. You cannot carry this night alone." At first, he ignored her. She was just a cleaner. What could she possibly say? But her words pierced the fog in his head. He looked up, and she continued softly, "I lost my daughter 2 years ago. Same age as your boy. I couldn't save her, but you still have a chance to love yours." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but her voice stayed steady. Something in him broke. He let out a sob, raw and unrestrained. For the first time in years, he cried in front of a stranger. Hours dragged on. The woman stayed by his side, praying softly under her breath. At dawn, the surgeon finally emerged. The operation was long, but he survived. Thompson collapsed into the chair, tears flooding his eyes. He looked for the cleaner, but she was already back at work, quietly pushing her mop, blending into the background again. He rushed to her. "Please, why did you stay with me all night? You didn't have to." She gave a tired smile. No one should suffer alone. Sometimes kindness is the only medicine we have left to give. Weeks later, Thompson returned to the hospital, not as a grieving father, but as a grateful man. He handed the woman a small envelope. Inside was not money, but something more powerful. A scholarship letter for her younger son, the only child she had left. "This is for standing with me when I thought my world was over," he said quietly. She wept, clutching the letter, whispering, "God bless you." And from that day on, every time Thompson looked at his son, alive and recovering, he remembered the stranger who carried him through the darkest night. Not with wealth, not with power, but with quiet kindness.